Okay, what's up, guys?
When you were an NBA player, did you have an arena that you were eager to see for the first time? And does that come into play with Rupp this week?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, for me, it was always the Celtics, Lakers. So to play in the Garden and get in the Forum was always a little bit extra special. I remember the first time in Boston where I saw my name on the old LED, not LED, but it was the old bubble light thing, and uh, it's something that we've talked about. Our program getting to a place that's certainly one of the blue bloods and leads the country in attendance. It's going to be an unbelievable environment. So, we're kind of curious about peeking around. We'll be there for 2 days, heading in there Thursday before the Saturday game. So we'll have a little bit of time to check out Rupp and Lexington.
All right, after the BYU game and that you talked about, there's some things to work on. What do you think you need to get resolved at this point of the season? And obviously, this is a tough challenge to try to inflict any changes in there going to Kentucky.
Yeah, there's a long list, Dirk, that we have to pile through, and some are pretty specific X and O issues. But what we spent most of our time yesterday talking about in the film session, we had a nice little team discussion and meeting, was more mindset changes, trust issues, really depending on each other to get a much higher quality shot than we've been getting. It's not good. It's not part of Utah basketball. It's not the way I want to coach. It's not the way players want to play. And so we're really focused on passing up a good shot, trying to get a great shot, trying to do something for a teammate. But we have no chance in watching a couple of games when we get in the mindset that we're going to go try to do it ourselves. And a lot of contested shots. It's just not conducive to winning. It's not conducive to having a real positive feel about how you want to run back and play defense. So those are things, obviously, within all of our offense that is a little bit contagious, and it's very much a mindset that it's. And yesterday was a good day when we talked about it prior to, and now we've got to improve our rebounding. We got to improve our toughness. We got to make more shots. We got to get defensive. Some of the simple shell defensive concepts that went awry Saturday afternoon. So, I mean, it's a long list, and you kind of have to try to, piece it together. You don't want to try to solve all the problems in one day, in 1 week, but we've got a pretty good plan sitting down as a coaching staff to try to improve this, and this. At the same time, it's those overall team, more mental concepts that we have to start thinking about. Yeah.
To follow up on that, the lack of sharing the ball, I assume that wasn't an issue during preseason practice. When did it kind of start to emerge as a problem?
Well, I can't say it's a little different team, and maybe I haven't been as clear as I wanted. I've always talked about players going and making plays, and it's a fine line between going and making a play and going and making a team play. And so I think maybe we've seen glimmers where guys have had some success putting their head down and making some things happen. But scouting reports, you see a lot of teams we play with the paint is packed when we get in there and we take ill-advised shots. So I don't think it's really atypical or different in terms of something that's kind of reared its head, that's become a little bit more obvious and maybe gotten carried away. And so I think from a coaching perspective, it's important for us, and this is what we met on this morning. Let's figure out a way to get Cedric 3-shot where everybody on our team knows that Cedric is going to shoot this ball, and put him in a position where he's the most confident and comfortable in shooting that ball, and that's his chance to do his thing, and that's when we expect him to shoot. I think same thing goes with our post players. You know, you can't just throw them the ball and have them create some stuff. So we need to dial in our execution to get them, and it's non-negotiable. This ball is going to go there, and then that's when it's your time to shine. I think right now we've got probably a little too much freedom in our offense where guys are, you know, hearing, hey, players make plays, but we don't have enough specific executed type of plays, and that's going to change. And then you know, guys getting their feet in the paint, whether it's Donnie, whether it's one of our bigs, Cedric, you name it. Parker had a shot blocked against BYU where you get into the paint and there's two guys open. You know, we've got to be able to, again, pass up what's perceived as a good shot and get a great shot. So it's probably something that's, well, it is at the forefront for us offensively. That and execution are super important for us. And we, you know, you can't just hang your hat on playing defense and then doing one side of it. You go into rup, and if your offense isn't pretty good, it turns into a defensive transition dunk fest, and then the game gets away from you. So, again, one of many things that we got to tackle. But we'll get her handled.
Just one more on the post players.
Yeah.
Actually, if you add up their combined stats, it looks okay, but it just kind of feels like they haven't had great impact consistently. What is that a fair way to characterize it?
Yeah. I mean, you know, some of it can be a little bit diluted, maybe with some of the games that you get. You know, you're able to score 15 points against not lesser competition, but not an elite Pac-12 type of team that you're going to have to face. So a little of it's fool's gold, I think. And I'm not putting it on our big guys. I love our big guys. We got a Brandon shoots the ball real well. Novak's a little more offensive minded, and Jace is more defensive minded. And we got to figure out a way to get them all going. And it starts kind of with what I was talking about. We look at them. You know, we haven't hit a big on a roll after a pick and roll since I don't know when. You know, so how do you expect to get? We've got to start, and some of that's the guards. Let's make sure we're giving them a good look. We need to work on that skill development. We need to set some cross screens and get them involved in games. You know, and you kind of remember that you get a little wounded from the last game that we played, and so it wakes you up a little bit. I think overall after 8 games, it's not like they've been underperforming, but we just need not just our bigs. We need more out of everybody. You know, we need to have some guys, some game type guys that are stepping up and making some things happen.
Larry, what do you talk about Kentucky a little bit? They were obviously preseason #1, haven't exactly lived up to that, but still a very talented, dangerous team, aren't they?
Yeah. Have you been watching tape too? Yeah. No, it's a high-powered. You know, they've got a great post presence. Their leading scorer is a wing that's deadly player down there. They're leading the NCAA in offensive reboundings. They're crazy in transition. You know, like what you'd expect, and they've shot. After 8 games, they've shot twice as many free throws as their opponent. So this one, maybe a little bit less about the X's and O's and a little bit more about the Jimmies and Joes in terms of understanding personnel and, you know, the opportunistic-minded team that they have, and just putting a lot of heat on you, and you got to be ready. I don't think we have to, you know, complicate things and try to figure out fancy sets. It's just a matter of trying to keep that guy in front of you, and then when they shoot the ball, keep a number of guys off the offensive glass, because that's where they're deadly. And it's those high percentage shots, right? The two areas are transition that lead to high percentage shots and fouls, and offensive rebounding leads to high percentage shots and fouls. And that's where the disparity exists, and so we got to be dialed in, and obviously a little bit difficult to simulate. You know, when you don't have one and done type players on our team that we can just throw the ball to and, hey, play some one-on-one, and when you get comfortable guarding him, then you'll be ready for PJ Washington. It doesn't necessarily work that way. So again, I think it is a lot more to do with a mindset than it is specific footwork and different things like that. We're kind of at the point with our team right now where we just got to start scrapping a little bit more.
And does the past history between Utah and Kentucky have any relevance? Have you brought it up, or obviously with the NCAA championship game several years ago, and then getting knocked out of the tournament?
No, I mean, no disrespect to the past. I love, the tradition and seeing the photos from the Final Four and knowing all of the history. And obviously we've always talked about the three different elements that are really important in your program, and the past is 1/3 of that. So when people hear that I'm not talking about that, that's no disrespect to that era, but that has nothing to do with, I think it's been 42 years since the Utes have beat them. It's what brought to my attention last night. So it's a whole different category, and we've got far bigger fish to fry and issues to deal with than any past history, and it's pretty cool that there's been some neat matchups, and I was at the championship game in '98 when Coach Montgomery was coaching Stanford, and I was a part of the Stanford contingent. So it's not like it's new to me or unknown to me. It's just, man, we just have so much time to talk about some things, and it's the stuff that we can control.
Yoli Childs kind of overshadowed this, but overall, did your defense improve against BYU?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. We were really good for long stretches of the game. I guess it could kind of be looked at. I look at it as our offense really bled into our defense in that game. We were good defensively when we were good offensively. And when we started to disrespect the game a little bit and not play Utah offense, lo and behold, that's when we started having some brain locks and some serious letdowns at the other end. And again, it speaks to my point that if you're not dialed in offensively and you're not playing the game the right way, you can't expect people to really be interested in playing defense. And we've always hung our hat on trying to play the game properly, but not that it's air-free, but you get a good shot so that everybody knows it's coming. Multiple people touch the ball. There's different concepts, and that didn't happen. And next thing you know, we go to the other end, and it's almost, it was a lot of self-inflicted. There were some really good possessions defensively. There's about 10 things on a defensive possession. It starts in transition. You got to guard their sets, the screening actions, contesting the shot, and then lo and behold, the last part, I've always said the exclamation point on getting a stop is the rebound. And we had 4 separate times that were backbreakers where we had 2 guys trying to rebound with one hand, and it's pretty much takes a miracle for 2 guys to get a rebound using one hand. Last time I checked, it's damn near impossible physics-wise. And so those balls get bobbled out of bounds. They scored on both of those. Jace gets a clean one at the end of the game when we cut it to 8 with 8 minutes to go, and we get a rebound and come down, and Celius runs by him and kind of slaps at the ball and knocks it out, and they dunk it. I mean, so, if you can eliminate some of the inability to rebound and finish a possession, the one possession, Worthington was the only one of 4 guys. There were 4 red uniforms and 1 blue uniform, and he was punching around at the ball and it ended up on the floor. And, man, it's a jump ball, it's their ball, and they score. So it just seems like little things, but defensively, with the exception of that, and Yoli's performance, it was pretty good. I mean, they hit some of their hardest shots, and a credit to them. And we made plenty of mistakes defensively, and they actually missed open shots. That was the kind of counterintuitive part of the whole thing. At the end of the day, we got what we deserved, but we And that's disheartening when you play great defense and they hit those shots. That can kind of take some of that air out of your sails too. Like, man, what do we got to do? You know, and it was one of those kind of afternoons for us.
And then just to follow up on the offense, 2 weeks ago you talked about simplifying it and using fewer play calls. And do you now mean that you'll go back to more play calls?
No. We've still simplified it. We need to get more specific. We've talked about maybe putting our guys on a set of railroad tracks instead of leaving some gray area. A big part of that question is what's a good shot, you know, and understanding that. But we'll still run. We've eliminated. You know, I know coaches pay attention. I just assume not divulge what it is we're doing or not doing, but it's going to involve some simplicity in that we're trying to get guys shots, not creating more plays. And then at the end of the day, we just have to get a lot wiser. To me, that's part of simplification, is that that's not a good shot. You're going to have to come out of the game and sit on the bench. I don't know what else to do at this point, so that'll be pretty simple. Of course.
Hello.
You made the track.
Yeah. I just wondered how you teach, or can you teach? I actually interviewed a coach last week who said you can't teach it, but I'm assuming you think you can teach toughness and that mental shift. Like, how do you? That's not.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun to try to teach. I'd rather be teaching other things. Obviously, I think in a perfect world, you have 16 guys that are just tough as nails that you never really have to talk about it. But it's like a skill set. It's no different. You know, some guys have the ability to, you know, make shots and passing and defensive minded. And, you know, you get into some Navy SEAL stuff. I think we can always, and basically how you teach it and how you coach it is you do a lot of toughness drills. And you get guys to maybe break through a threshold that they didn't know that they could break through because, wow, I actually made it through that. I don't know how else to do it. It's no different than any other skill. You know, if you're going to become a better shooter, you got to put a bunch of reps in.
Is there anything away from basketball that you can do to develop that, or?
The toughness?
Yeah.
Well, I don't, not that I've really dove into. You know, it's just a matter of kind of getting dirty and finishing possessions a little bit harder, as far as I know. I mean, I think there's reading and, you know, there's great books on it. I don't know how many college players, you know, different styles of learning are really going to pick up a book and become tougher by reading that book at this age when they've got enough other reading to do, you know, or you know, we discuss it and talk about it a little bit, the importance of it, but I really think it's kind of a hands-on training more than anything.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Good question. We good? Okay. Yeah, thank you.